all, congrats on the movie. I had a really good time with the sequel. And I have a lot of questions, but I like throwing a curveball at the beginning. You have done so many different things through your career. If someone has actually never seen anything you've done, what is the first thing you want them watching and why?
I would love for them to watch the 8 movies that I have done with Pedro Almodovar, for example. Why? Because it's cinema that it was done in my hometown, in my home nation, actually, in Spain. Because I think they broke many different rules of cinema at the time that they were, made, and because it's pure cinema, I think. So I just will show the people that, and then there are other things, as you said, very colorful around of my career that complement that theme. But those 8 movies for me are very important.
What do you think it is? Puss in Boots has been a breakout character since the beginning and has been so popular for so long. What do you think it is about the character that has resonated with so many people for so long?
Contrast. There's something that is important. I mean, when the Shrek saga was created, they were just putting a lot of accent in old fairy tales and just taking those characters, take a completely different look to those characters than before, a different angle to see them. Zorro, in a way, was a fairy tale. It was created as a stripe on the New York Times before it went to the big screen and then to television in the 60s and stuff like that. So they took the character like a fairy tale character, but they put the whole entire character in the body of a cat. That is a contrast. And then that little cat, has a very strong voice. Those little things is what is the source of comedy. It's almost like the character never look at himself in the mirror. Like he doesn't even know what in the look that he has. He got a personality that is bigger than his own body, and he just traveled with that. And then, he got a kind of a double face. He got a face for kids, and he had a face for adults. It was very funny. Some interviews that we did yesterday, some of the interviewers, they were very, very young. They were like, 26, 27 years old. And so they saw the first Shrek 20 years ago, the first participation that I had, and they got a perception of the movie that was completely different to when they revised the movie 20 years after. They said to me things like, when I saw the movie now of Shrek 2, for example, I understood why my father was laughing at certain points that I couldn't understand. So, the intelligence in the teams that were creating all of those movies was extraordinary, just to create a movie that appeals to audiences that were, adults and for the kids at the same time. I think that's the success of Puss in Boots.
I have read about a sequel to Puss in Boots for a good 10 years now, and I honestly wasn't sure it was ever going to happen. Were you ever at any point were you like, this is never going to get made?
At some point, yeah, at some point in which I lost contact for maybe a couple of years. But I knew, that, the studio operate big changes because it moved to another studio, actually, to Universal. And at the same time, the pandemic came on. So there was a number of things that were going on at the same time. So I got in contact with them eventually, but yeah, there was a period of time of like maybe not 2 years, but a year and a half, something like that, in which I didn't receive any news. And at that point, I thought, oh well, maybe they're just rethinking, and because this new panorama that they had in front of them, they're thinking in something completely new. They don't want to revisit things that they have done in the past, something like that. So yes, at some point I thought about it, but then here we are.
I don't want to do any spoilers. However, the movie does introduce the possibility that Puss is about to see some friends, maybe Shrek and other people. Have you heard anything about another Shrek movie and another adventure?
No, officially not. No, nobody has said anything to me. I was the first one who was surprised when at the end of this movie we saw this wink of an eye that the studio just through there with far, far away. And so I don't know if it's going to happen, but certainly if I knew something, I will say it, but no, non-officially.
I definitely want to know, because when you're making it, you really don't know how it's all going to come together. Even you, what was your reaction to the finished film? Because I thought it was a lot of fun.
The thing that surprised me the most was the capacity that, that we all, I guess, had to create a movie in which we allow ourselves to reflect about issues that normally you don't in front of a very young audience. The possibility of the character dying, and the depression that he get into, and at the same time the panic and of seeing death very close to him all the time, that metaphorical character almost that the wolf represents, and then the vulnerability of this hero. We see a hero now that he can just be in trouble, psychological trouble, just fighting the idea of death. So that I think it was important. And I think after the pandemic and having kids, confined in the houses with masks going here and there without sharing a school time with their friends, and seeing from their homes that out there is something dangerous that is threatening them. I think it's important that instead of hiding, we just show them, a reflection about the importance of existence and life itself.
Listen, before I run out of time with you, I have to ask you, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, and I just want to know what it was like when James Mangold said, hey, we want you to be part of this movie, and being part of the last Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford.
It was great, but you have to think my character is very little. It's almost a cameo. It's very little. Just the fact that I step on the set for me was important. And I gotta tell you, I got a great time with Harrison. He's a gentleman on the set and outside of the set. I shared some dinners with him and some time, and what a gentleman. But my character is little, it's just a friend of Indiana's character, and he's looking for him because he needs something from his friend, but that's it. He just takes a very little time of the movie, but very happy to be part of a saga that is history of the history of motion pictures, obviously.
For sure. Listen, congrats on this. I wish you nothing but the best, and thank you for your time.